Hi, welcome to those who haven't been here before, and welcome back to those who have watched before. Thanks for coming again. My name is Aaliyah Langley. So, I'm really late on this, and I wasn't going to do this, but I figured, well, I started and I have to kind of finish. So, here I am. And as the title of the video, you know what I'm saying here. My books I've read in February 2024. I did it in January, and now we're coming back with February, and we'll come back with March in a couple days. I read another 5 books. I read 5 books in February. I read another 5 books. My 5 books in January. I read another 5 books in February. And I figured let's just do a little quick rundown of each of them and kind of just like my thoughts on them. It'll be really quick. I don't plan on this really being long. I say that though, but then we'll see how the video goes. So the first one is Let Us Descend by Jasmine Ward. It is a novel. It is essentially a book about we're following a young enslaved girl named Annis. She essentially gets separated from her mother at a young age and is dealing with like this abusive father who actually is the slave master. Her father is a slave master, so put that together there. And she gets separated from her mother. Her mother gets sold off, and she eventually gets sold off as well to another place and is trying to basically work her way through everything and trying to see if she can find her mother again, but also just like the whole Let Us Descend comes from a place of like descending into the waters of trying to like escape. Spoiler, but at the end they eventually are making an effort to escape. You're immediately kind of just thrown into the book. From like the first line of the text, it's really just like, oh wow, like it's setting the scene, and it's really powerful and strong there. And it's really a beautiful novel about rebirth and reclamation. The next book is one that my sister recommended to me. She wanted me to read this really bad. And I'm glad I wanted to read it too. I'm glad I read it. It's called We Do This Till We Free Us, Abolitionist Organizing and Transforming Justice by Marian Kaba, and Tamara Nopper is the editor. It is a book all about the abolitionist movement. Now, when you hear the word abolitionist, like even for me, the first thing that comes to mind is like abolition from slavery. You think about kind of several years ago, that kind of thing. But the abolitionist movement today is kind of talking about getting rid of prisons, essentially, the prison system. And it's a really, really interesting book. And it's one of those where I kind of came to the book. And the thing is, I really like they kind of came at this and talked about this kind of right away. And I'm going to read what I wrote here. It says, early in the book, the question is posed, is abolition too drastic? Can we really get rid of prisons and policing altogether? And that's kind of where I came from it, when I picked up the book. I kind of was like, I believe in abolition, but like, is it possible? Like, the society is kind of like too messed up. Like, is it possible to actually just go completely without prisons? So the book gives you a lot to ponder on. It gives you a lot to think about, like how can this actually be possible? How prisons have another book that I'm gonna put in here is called The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander, where a couple of years ago they pulled from that a couple times, and it's one of those things where The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander is talking about how prisons turned into the new Jim Crow, a way to kind of like chain black bodies. So there's more to investigate with that text, but like I said, it gives you a lot to think about. There's a lot for society to get there, I feel like, but it's also like it's not impossible. So the book for me made it feel less impossible. Kind of when I came into it, I was like, I don't know if it's possible, but it kind of gave me more thoughts. But it would really need to be a collective effort if it was actually going to happen. Not sure, but I did really enjoy it. I thought it was really, really well written and really balanced. I really recommend it for everybody. Another book I recommend for everybody is a book called Poverty by America by Matthew Desmond. Now, this book, when I first heard about it, it kind of jumped out to me right away. It came out last year. Matthew Desmond he wrote a book called Evicted as well, which I'm actually reading now. If I'm able to finish it in time, I'll have it in my next kind of March video. Poverty by America is so excellent, and it's filled with so many truths. For me, it's talking about what's going on and why, again, in the title Poverty by America, and how poverty is kind of set into a place where it's actually like, as much as people want to get rid of it, it's like, well, you actually need it. And when you actually think about it and like how it's benefiting you, how it helps to have someone oppressed in a way in terms of class, how it helps lift other people up. And it's also talking about how kind of the gaps that have happened in terms of like wealth, especially in the last several years, I feel like we've seen a widening gap of that 1% versus everybody else. And it's so excellent, and it's really just one of those where you're digging into so many different things, and really just like, if you haven't thought about these things, it's really waking you up to a bunch of things and kind of like snapping your attention. And it's, again, one of those books that I recommend everybody should read it, everybody in the United States, but also you can translate a lot of these things to other countries as well, other major countries as well. And it's so, so good. The last chapter of the book for me is the most important, because it's all about action. It's all about, okay, you read this book, now instead of leaving hopeless and like, man, this system is too much to like overcome, what can we do to actually kind of like go against this? And like, reading it is not enough. It's really like, okay, what can we do to help eradicate or help level the playing field, all that kind of stuff. And it's so good. And like I said, I recommend it to everybody. And I already have recommended to several people. It's excellent. I like was highlighting all throughout that book. I was highlighting like crazy. Speaking of, well, I had to say that, but I highlight, and you can see my highlights if you follow me on Goodreads. The next book is A Black Woman's History of the United States by Diana Ramey Berry and Callie Nicole Gross. This was a book I read for my book club. I have a book club. And this was our book pick for February 2024. And it's really like it reads like a history textbook. It's full of stories, some of them known, some of them unknown, depending on who you ask. I feel like Black history is not really taught a lot in the United States. So it's filled with stories from the 15th century all the way up to the 21st. And I learned a lot from the book. Like I said, many things I knew already, but many things were kind of new to me. It's really impossible to read it and not learn something. It's kind of showing how even though Black women were being constantly held down from the powers that be, there's always a way for them to accomplish something, and it is really showing like how much they accomplished throughout all the crap they had to deal with for centuries. It's so, for me as a Black woman, I really like left it feeling just like wow, this is my lineage. These are the people that have gotten me to this place, and I really wouldn't be here without those people accomplishing what they did and going through what they did in this country, but also in other countries. It's really like they're the reason and so many of us are here today. It's so excellent. The book is super important. Like I said, these stories aren't taught enough, especially Black women's stories. They're just really not taught. I was lucky to know of some of them, because I have a mother who tells me all these kind of things when I was growing up, would tell me about these people. My dad did as well to a level, but my dad's from England, so it really was just excellent, and I really was just so proud to read it. And I'm going to end with the quote from the book that I found really great. From the last line of the book, actually, it says, "We owe a debt to the Black women who came before us, those who persevered and those who did not, because the totality of their history is what informs our present and readies us to continue to demand justice for ourselves and by extension for all." Excellent text. I recommend you read that. The last book I read for February is called Chain Gang All-Stars. It's by Nana Kwame Adjei Brenyah. So I saw this book, and it kind of was described to me as the Gladiator meets the American prison system. It's a whole book where you're seeing these people who are imprisoned. Imprisoned? Is that the right? In prison, yeah. In prison, but to what they have to do, we're kind of in this ultra-realistic kind of world where they have to fight each other to survive. You fight each other to the death. So it tackles, that's really the premise of the book, it tackles tough subjects like the prison system in the United States, entertainment, sports, capitalism, and all the violence that's like within those systems that you kind of sometimes don't think about. It's really evoking, really, there's a lot of really thought-provoking text. And it also discusses, in the main character, self-love, forgiveness, and redemption. And it's told from rotating perspectives in the book. We have the two kind of main characters in the book. Pulling up their names here because I forget their names. It's been like a month since I read this. The two main characters are Loretta Thurber and Hurricane. So it's told through kind of their perspectives as we're rotating their literal fight in this prison system that they're in, and trying to, essentially just make it through. And that is the book, and that's another really good one as well. I thought it was pretty good. So yeah, that is my list of 5. Kind of a little hodgepodge little talk here, but I hope you made sense of it. I will link my Goodreads below, as I always do, for the 5 books I read and also any other book I read. I try to get every book I can on Kindle, as well. Sometimes I have the physical text, but it just depends. I try to get them on Kindle though, always, because even if I have the physical text, I like to have the Kindle as well, because that way I can highlight, and my highlights save on my Goodreads profile, and I could publish them and even my notes, that way people can see them, and, like, you know, also just for me, if I have to give the book back, I usually get all my books from the library, other than the ones I have, like, in my home, but I usually get all of them from the library, so that way my highlights can stay with me even when I haven't read the book in a while, and I could go back and see, like, the things I highlighted and that kind of thing. So you can go see those there. Those are the books. I will be back, like I said, in another next week when March finishes to do my March books. I've already read 7 books in March so far. Like I said, I'm hoping to get this last one by Matthew Desmond. I will get it done before March ends. And yeah, so glad I did this video. Like I said, I wanted to do it, and we'll be back, like I said, soon with one for March. Thanks for kind of watching me. This kind of like a ramble, kind of like I kind of put it together quickly, but hopefully it made sense to you. If you made it to the end, really appreciate it. And yeah, talk to you guys later. Bye.